is a story. Hi everyone, Happy New Year. Here we are, January 2017. Lots of changes, lots of evolutions. So this is the deal. In 2016, I got the vision, the picture, the reality, the sense that the demographics were breaking off, splitting off. However, it's become very clear in the last 6 weeks that I'm picking up on something that's happening in the future. It's not quite happened yet, but what has happened is that the demographics, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, all the signs, these demographics that are on these evolutionary narratives, they're unfolding, spiraled evolutionary stories in particular themes. I do believe, I feel, I sense that they've split. And so what I'm going to be doing, and this is going to be more work, so I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to be doing this, but what I've started to do for 2017, January, is for each demographic, I am doing 2 readings. So there's a split happening. There's a certain populace of people, there's a certain evolutionary story that's unfolding for, let's say, half, or at least a quantity, maybe even a third, a quantity of Aries. And then there's another storyline unfolding for another populace, another segment of the Aries demographic. It's the same for Taurus, etc. So let's get started on the year. I'll explain it as we go through the reading this month. Everyone, so there's a lot to talk about as we complete 2016 and we enter into 2017. So of course, this is our January 2017 Alchemy Scope, right? This series of Alchemy Scopes for this new beginning of a new cycle, and indeed it is. So let's start with talking about the numerology. 2016 was a 9-year. It was a hard year for many, many people out there. It was a very tough year. On the collective scale, it was a very tough year. In fact, this 9-year of 2016 was about endings, completion. It was about old patterns coming up to the surface for healing, for seeing. So as we complete this 9-year, we enter into 2017, which is a 1-year. 2017, 2, 0, 1, and 7 together add up to 10. This 10-year adds up 1 and 0 to 1. All right? 1 is initiation. It's individuation. It's the individual. It's initiative and innovation. It is a new beginning. 1 is a new cycle. It is literally the new seed. So as most of you know who have tuned into my Alchemy Scopes forever, since I've begun, or even more recently, you realize that these Alchemy Scopes are always attuned to natural cycles. So they're always aligned with the new moon portal point. And the new moon is a new seeding time. Indeed, everybody, 2017 for all of us on the collective scale is representing energetically a new seeding time. It's a new moon on a massive scale. So we're entering into a new phase of a 9-year cycle. So this 2017 year is about new beginnings. So this is fantastic. And I have to tell you, everything that I'm going to bring up now is aligning with this message of 2017. Ironically, on this new moon point, where we are officially kind of beginning, this is post-winter solstice in the Northern Hemisphere, and entering into this new cycle for the year. I'm recording this, of course, before this Capricorn new moon, right before January 2017 begins. This new moon point, this Capricorn new moon, is the third of the last 3 months of a 7-degree new moon point. Scorpio had a 7-degree new moon, Sagittarius had a 7-degree new moon, and Capricorn has a 7-degree new moon. In fact, to be exact, the new moon that is occurring on the 28th/29th of December is at 7 degrees 59 minutes Capricorn. Now everybody, the amazing thing that's aligning with this new moon, this new beginning point, that is representing for us the beginning of the chapter, the pre-chapter of the calendar year shifting to 2017, is that Uranus goes direct on the same day as our new moon. Now, if that weren't enough, we have the most amazing Sabian symbol, everybody. Listen to this. The Sabian symbol that is imbued at 7 degrees Capricorn is this. In a sunlit home, domesticated birds sing joyously. The keynote that Dane Rudhyar writes is the wholesome happiness which subservience to the ideals and patterns of a well-established culture brings to those who accept them unreservedly. The wholesome happiness which subservience to the ideals and patterns of a well-established culture brings to those who accept them unreservedly. So let me read on. In various ways, this section of the cyclic process brings to us images glorifying the power and benefits which a steady and well-integrated society brings to its members. Saturn rules Capricorn. Saturn was the ruler of the Golden Age before he became a symbol of binding limitations. The person who accepts willingly, or even better, takes for granted the value of these limitations, can lead a serene and happy existence, whatever the social status. This stage suggests to us how we can enjoy our life condition by allowing the spiritual values it embodies to fill our consciousness. In every condition provided by a healthy culture, which hardly refers to our present chaotic world, human beings can find enjoyment in the roles they are born to play. Everybody, with 2017 equating to the energy of a 1 year, a new cycle, a new birth, individuation. This is about you becoming you. This is about you as a distinct soul print, a distinct individual, stepping into your uniqueness, your distinctness, and doing you. This could not be more aligned with the bigger picture. I mean, it's quite something. So this particular symbology is imbued not only for this particular new moon, but at the point at which Uranus is going direct. And Uranus is the individual. It is our distinct genius self. It's our uniqueness, our distinctness. So there's no accident. There's complete alignment with the fact that Uranus is going direct and that it's happening on this new moon. And this new moon is the third of 3 sevens. And this particular symbol is the picture. This is birds singing joyously in a sunlit home. This is about emanation. Sun emanates. This home is safety, security. It's the self. It's the body. Everybody, this is quite something, you know. Now, let's talk about this new cycle. So you heard me say in the introduction to this video that I had been getting a call for a long time now, actually. This is since last spring. So spring of 2016, I got a really clear picture that that these demographics of the signs are going to start to split. That there's going to be a threading of the story. It's going to fray out, because as people step into their individuation, as people understand that they are distinct, as they understand they are a powerful, distinct facet of consciousness, of source, they are going to break. They're going to go into more of their aligned soul print path. And the general demographics for the unfolding is going to shift and change. The thing is, I tend to pick up on things well before they manifest. So when I picked this up in spring 2016, it wasn't necessarily happening yet. What I got clear on in the last 6 to 8 weeks is that there is a split, but it's not threaded out into many different facets of story. So for example, instead of the demographic of Aries continuing on a general evolutionary path of unfolding narrative, it is split, but it's now split in two. So there's a distinct evolution upward, and there's another evolution going in another direction. As we move from a stable state into a chaotic state, as people continue to unveil and awaken and really align with their distinct soul print, they will not follow a general narrative. So yes, there is a split now. Is that split going to further break into different threads of story? Yes. At some level in the next couple of years, I don't necessarily foresee these particular readings following any particular thick storied narrative. They might, because again, I see things well in advance, years in advance of sometimes this stuff happening. So it could be that it's 5 years down the road, but maybe it's sooner. It's going to depend on how quickly people wake up and how people really... I think what's happened for me in the last 6 to 8 weeks is I've realized the level at which people are still strongly asleep. And so because that's the case, the understanding that I've gotten, the clarity that I asked for and that I received was that indeed there is a split, but right now it's only a bifurcation. It's only a split into two. So that's what we're going to proceed with. So let's move forward into the individual signs, and we're going to take a look and see 1 or 2, A or B, left or right, because I am going to show you 2 different spreads and 2 different I Ching narratives, okay? And one of those is going to align more for your story. All right, so let's get started. So I'd like you to meditate on 2 forms, square and circle. Square and circle. Now, if you'd like to align the form square with the number 1 or with the directional identifier right, you can do that. And I want you to also meditate on the form circle or number 2. It can also be B of A and B, or left of right and left. But I think the easiest way, because you're my very first recording, you know, I'm doing this split spread situation now for the first time, and I really do, it is my very authentic intention to make this easy and smooth, as opposed to more complicated. It is absolutely against my deep desires to make any of this complicated, but unfortunately there's more information coming through. So I'm going to bring it, at least for now, I'm going to bring it forward, and I will attempt to be as clear and concise as possible. I think that square and circle, tapping into the forms, are going to be the easiest for people, because it's not about one being better than 2. In fact, it's not that at all. A being the first letter in the alphabet, B being the second. There's always some hierarchical association that humans do with that stuff. And because I didn't want that, I think that square and circle are going to be best. So tap in. And once you know what it is, that is your form. So for all of these alchemy scopes coming forward, you are going to be square. You're not going to go back and forth between square and circle. Now, could it be that you kind of switch paths, or that you shift trajectory? Anything's possible. Absolutely anything is possible. But you're not going to flip-flop back and forth every month. If you pick square or if you pick circle, I am doing the readings according to those pathways. Okay? So let's begin. We're starting with square. So if you selected square as the resonant form for you, that means that that is your unfolding trajectory at this time. Sagittarius squares. So let's take a look. What is unfolding for you? I pulled the I Ching for you, and you received 2 I Ching hexagrams. The first one, number 24, returning, came with changing lines, and it became number 51, shock. Now, shock came up also for another sign, FYI, over the course of this cycle. Returning has to do with returning to healing after a period of illness, returning to interactions in public life after a period of isolation. It's a returning of light and warmth after a time of coldness, okay? So there's a returning back toward the light, right? But it does talk about a slowness that's necessary, because you're still resting, coming up to meet the new phase. So it's a slow return, a slow emergence back to some period of health. Now for you, it's connected to shock. So for some Sagittarians out there on the square path, there is a returning that was related to a shock that's occurred. Now this shock, something that created an instability, it could have been either devastating news or something, an event that was devastating, or something that was actually quite good, a beneficial change, something that felt good and exciting, but still created instability. In either way, there was instability felt, and now you're coming into a state of returning back to stability, back to quote unquote normal, whatever the new normal is. However, what this might be speaking to for some of you is that this narrative, this combined storyline of returning shock, could be that you had shock, you experienced it, and you're returning from that state of shock, and there's something else that occurs in January. So for some of you, you are returning to a state of alignment after an instability shock that's occurred in your life. For others of you, indeed, you did have a shock, you were returning to a state of stability, and in January there might be another shock that occurs. And because I'm looking at your spread right now that we're going to talk about in a moment, indeed it could be that. Okay, so let's go on to right now your evolution. Who are you to become? Who is your optimal embodiment? The penny slinger Dakini that came forward for you is number 37, protectress. Protectress talks about there might be a need for psychic protection, for energetic protection, for physical protection. There might really be a need to protect yourself from external forces, external activity, external distraction, and that protection of your core vitality, your flame, is necessary now. So in the course of January for the Sagittarius squares, indeed the guidance is to become self-protective. It doesn't mean creating walls where there's not a need for a wall, but it is about being discerning and mindful about valuing yourself to a degree where you do honor what is needed for your own protection at this time. Now let's move to the reading. Now, this spread is done with the volatile deck. That's the cards with the yellow border. And then I am also adding the Druidcraft Tarot to the center to bring, a level of depth to the reading. And here you can see in the center, the main narrative for you in January has to do with pure intentions and the Tower. Now, nobody likes to receive the Tower. The Tower really in the original tarot meaning was honestly ever just the lightning strike of clarity. This is about nature's way, natural way to create stark alignment with truth when it goes into extreme imbalance, or the foundations of whatever belief structure that you held or whatever reality that you formed for yourself was just not aligned. It was completely out of alignment. So the Tower is about dramatic, sometimes sudden shifting that must occur, that has to occur in order to realign you with truth. Now, for you, it's interesting because the Pure Intentions card is coming up here, and this is what I get for you. Sag squares with pure intentions right there with the Tower. I want to say, and you're not going to like me saying this, but there's a level of naivete that you are living through right now, like a chapter where you're not aware of the destruction that you're either creating for yourself to come about. You're not seeing it. There's something with like with a child's eyes, this pure intention, innocence, with innocence. Tower is wanting to unfold for you. So if you don't want Tower, if you don't want the drama of a sudden shift and change where you don't desire that, then it's a matter of waking up at a new level. Okay. Now let's move on to the other aspects of the reading. On the far right side, we see waiting, asking, remembering. This is in the spiritual sector. So writing has to do with expression. Asking is about praying, asking our guides, our angels or whatever, and remembering. It's almost like remembering who we are as a soul, remembering that we are source field. We are source. We are source. So it's almost like you are expressing question about who am I? Who am I? What is this all about? It's like there's a deeper soul remembering that actually is underpinning your story this month. Now keep in mind, you got returning shock, right, for your narrative. Shock does speak to the Tower. It can. It can. It doesn't have to look like the Tower, but it can speak to that. And certainly here it's being reinforced. But with the returning back to health and stability, it's interesting because with the spiritual sector being about kind of expressing an inquiry about remembering who you are diving deeper. And so I do believe that whatever Tower is manifesting for the Sag squares on the square path, the Sages on the square path, it is growing you up. It's maturing you. It's getting you out of any state of naivete. It's maturing you on a very deep level. And it's catalyzing that deep soul remembering, which is coming up in that sector. Now, in the base of the reading, we can see seeing, insisting, closing, fast. Now, for me, what I see with you is that because of whatever shock occurs, because of whatever Tower occurs, and by the way, this could easily have to do with a spiritual, let me rephrase that. This could very well have to do with a religious, an organized religion dogma that you've always believed throughout your entire life. You've always held a belief system, and there is something breaking it. There is something coming to light for a lot of Sagittarians over the course of this cycle that is breaking what you thought was truth. Because you can see up at the top of the reading, before we finish with the bottom, the top of the reading is the faith card. So your thoughts are on faith. And if you look at the spiritual sector, you're asking. So you're asking your angels, right? So we're all told angels exist and this is what we do, right? We need help. We're asking our angels. But there's some tower catalyzation that occurs. There's some realization that occurs that's going to grow you up and out of whatever bubble that some of you, this is not going to land well with a lot of you. I know it. But there's a bubble that's going to be broken for a lot of you out there. So I'm just going to speak it because it's the truth. Okay. So the foundation here is seeing, insisting, closing fast. So guess what? There could be that what you see, the tower is going to open your eyes to something that is faith-based. It's something about religion. There's some belief system that you're going to see that you're not going to like. And what does that mean? It means you're going to insist on closing it down fast. It means that you're going to close your eyes. So that's why this reading is not going to land for a lot of Sages out there. So for those of you that are on the square path, you are not going to like what you're going to learn or see or become aware to, and you are going to close down that information real fast. Now, in the emotional sector, the preparation card is there. So there is emotionally, there is some level of preparing yourself emotionally for maybe post-tower reality, or you're preparing yourself, you're emotionally calibrating yourself so that you can handle the information coming, so that you can handle the belief system shifting, so that you can handle it. And again, because the closing fast is coming up at the foundation, a lot of you are not going to let it in. That's that protectress that's coming up as the guidance for you. One level of 37 protectress is that you can become too walled. So it's about being discerning about how you protect yourself. It's not about protecting yourself from new knowledge, new wisdom, new understanding. It's about protecting yourself from the real vilification, the real false story. See? There's a discernment that's at play here, everybody. Okay. Now let's move on to the circle path. So for the Sag circles, this is what's coming up for you. The I Ching number 42, which is increase, and it's connected to number 12, standstill. So for the circle evolutionary story for this month, progress, success, movement forward, which is reflected by increase, is in fact experiencing a pause. Standstill has to do with things aren't moving forward. So there's a pause that's playing out for the underpinning narrative for the circle storyline. Your embodiment, beautifully, interestingly, is number 50, Lakshmi. And again, this is Penny Slinger's Dakini Oracle. Lakshmi is the Dakini that represents perseverance. This is about the land of milk and honey. This is about abundance. It's about flow. It's about sensuality. And it's about the wisdom within the body system. The body system is not unintelligent. The body system is highly intelligent. And Lakshmi talks about, because this is your evolution, who you are to embody and become this month. Lakshmi is about utilizing your body, your intuitions, your senses, all of the senses of your body system in order to feel into nature and natural abundant flow. Okay? So be in that space, become Lakshmi, become abundance, become flow, become the body system that is going to access natural flow. Okay. Now let's move to your spread. In your reading here, we can see that the center section, now again, I want to point out just with all of these split readings, the squares and the circles, often, if not in totality, every reading, the majority of the readings have shown the exact same scenario playing out, but there's a different way of handling it. The squares handle it one way, the circles handle it another way. So let's look at this for you. Here you can see the darkness card is coming up in the middle. Now this is not fun. The darkness card is not delightful. It's the start of a new year. Who wants darkness? You know, nobody wants darkness. But here there is, in fact, just like the tower came up in the center of the other one, here there is darkness coming up. But there is the Four of Swords reversed here as well. Now this is my Siri deck, and again we're pulling up the Druidcraft Tarot for that middle card. There's a decision. The Four of Swords reversed is about not waiting, not pausing anymore. It's about now making a decision and taking action. It's about, after a period of rest, moving forward. So the Four of Swords reversed is about making a decision about the darkness, the negativity, the depression. At the base of the spread, again, not good. These are not like delicious cards. We don't love to receive these readings, but I like this for you because it's saying deception and confusion are activated. There is darkness for some of you out there. The circles are experiencing some level of darkness, but you're allowing that place. The deception and the confusion cards came up on either side of the place card. The place is saying, first of all, you living in the space of your psyche, your soul, your mind, is living in a certain place. And that place might feel that there is deception at play and that there's confusion at play, but you're choosing, because Four of Swords is reversed, you're choosing to hang with it. You're choosing to go through that process, to go through that portal, this chapter of your growth. You're choosing it. At the top of the reading, which is connected to the bottom, you have hope. You're maintaining hope. Now, you're maintaining hope for different aspects of your life, but this could have to do with creative projects for some of you. I do think that the writing card that came up in the other reading is also talking here. I think that some of you that want to write and express yourself in various ways, you do contain optimistic perspectives and hope around the projects that you'd like to see manifested. But there's a decision that you're going to go through the darkness. You're going to go through it. You're going to allow it to be. You're going to love what is. In the spiritual sector, affection is coming up. So there's some level that you feel held. There's some level that you feel that life is not out to get you, that life is not torturing you, that you're not being vilified, punished, etc. And in the emotional sector, preparation. Preparation is about, now I will point out that actually both preparation and preparing came up in both spreads in the same sector. So in the square sector, there's preparing. In the circle spread, there's preparation. So indeed, everybody, the Sages on both paths are emotionally preparing. Now, in one sector, it's preparing for maybe closing things fast or things closing fast. You know, events, circumstances, your context closing fast, or you making a decision to not believe something that comes forward for you that wants to be seen and confronted. In the circle path, you are preparing, but it's linked to affection. It's linked to a spiritual lightness, perhaps. And it's also linked to hope, of a project. Now, I will say it is interesting because both of these are very similar. You have faith in the one reading and you have hope and project in the other. Both have faith, both have preparing at the exact same placement. The one side, spirituality, is writing, asking, and remembering. So that's expression of prayer and remembering your soul path. And in the circle spread, it is a feeling of lightness, of being loved, that you are loved, right? At the base of the spreads it's a little bit different because one is about closing off, which isn't fitting maybe with your idea of faith. Here, it's about maybe living in or being willing to live in a space of non-formed, identified paths forward. There is deception. There is confusion. You're not sure where to go yet. There is a period of darkness, but you're choosing to stay in the darkness and maintain hope. And prepare yourself for the love of spirit. But in this reading, there's a willingness to stay in the lack of clarity. There's a willingness to stay in the confusion. In the other reading, there's a closing down. So I want you to really drink that in, everybody. That's the division of the path. That's the bifurcation for Sag. One closes, one is willing to remain unclear. There is a period of new insight coming that might create a desire to close. And it might instill in some of you a willingness to stay in the confusion. You don't know what's truth and what's lie. This is the deception card. This has to do with what is truth and what is a lie. There is confusion. We are all living through that. But for Sagittarians right now, and of course Saturn is going through Sagittarius, this is a time for your maturation. For all of us on the collective scale, Sagittarius is the sign of belief systems and philosophies, religion and dogma, what we believe. And with Saturn going through that area, you better believe that we're needing to mature it on the collective. So for you, dear Sages out there, both squares and circles, you are activated. You have Saturn going through that sector for you. You are going to need to contend with what is truth and what is lie. And are you willing to be open to new realities, new knowledge, new understandings? Okay, Sag, let's move to the final components of your reading. Everyone, an exciting announcement. Throughout 2016, I've been called to bring forward a Learn Your Soul Print course, and indeed it's happening. January 2017, we'll have 3 live stream courses discussing key aspects of your astrology, your archetype encodings, and the Sabian symbology that lives within your soul print, your soul's blueprint, that really are foundational understandings to knowing what our natural alignment is. It is highly delicious. And so for those intrigued, this is a great price, and I encourage you to learn more about it. The web address is thealchemyofholism.com/soulprintcourse with hyphens between the words. And you can find the link below this video. So for those ready to start 2017 with clarity, with alignment, I highly, highly recommend learning about this course. An excellent price point. The goal for me to provide a course versus working one-on-one with clients, which is what I do, is so that I can help more people align to their stories. And this story is the natural alignment, the natural bliss state. So I look forward to seeing some of you very, very soon. Everyone, before I sign off and wish you a very good month ahead, an evolutionary, a rich and expansive month ahead, I want to remind you that in order to get your personalized Alchemy Scope with a spread, with an astrological assessment of your solar return, with a discussion of your Sabian symbology, of everything that's activated, including your transits, I urge you to make contact. The link is below, And this is a video that you're going to have permanent access to, so you can refer to it throughout the year. But there is about a 2-week lead time, so I encourage you, if you'd like to tap into what the whole of 2017 has in store for you, please go ahead and click the link below to place your order right away. Talk to you soon. Bye. You are an embodied reflection of Source. You are thus infinitely empowered, abundant, and a co-creator with your context always. You are an alchemist. Divination works because the web of life is intelligently organized with coordinated and storied agency.